Welcome back to Hiss and Tell podcast. Can you believe we're on season 3? Today I am talking with Dr. Gina Rendon all about cerebellar hypoplasia. We're going to talk about exactly what it is, where it comes from, how it affects cats, how to work with and help cats who have it, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And this is an issue that's really important to me as we now have a CH cat in our own family, an amazing kitten whose name is Egg. So we'll also be discussing her and her progress and all the stuff that we've done for her. So join us as we sit down and talk all about cerebellar hypoplasia. Welcome to another episode of Hiss and Tell. I am your host, Christina Wilson, and with me today is Dr. Gina Rendon, Medical Director of Williamsburg Vet, and one of my favorite people, and definitely my favorite vet of all time. Welcome, Gina.
Yay! Yeah,
amazing.
I was gonna start by sharing with you, our logo, our bulldog logo that we've had forever.
Yes.
I had no input in the design of that, and that was designed, and I always felt like it was very dog centric, and I've always really wanted a cat, and now we have a cat. And I love it so much. They sent us a bunch of different, versions of cats, and then we picked one and we tweaked it a little bit, and so I'll send that to you so you can show our.
Please, I'll put it up on the screen.
Just the cat and then the bulldog and then the two of them together. So
that's so cute.
I'm very happy about that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I will say, as a cat person, I never felt excluded by the logo, but I also
felt like, man, this is lame.
I personally never. You're not excluding cat people at the vet.
Yeah.
But that's exciting. That's good to know.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
So anyway, today's topic. Now that we've talked for like 5 minutes about nonsense, today we're talking about cerebellar hypoplasia. Well, let's go into you telling everyone what it is.
What it is.
Yes.
So we'll start with the cerebellum. I have show and tell.
Ooh.
No. So this is actually a horse brain. My anatomy teacher gave me a fixed horse brain when I was in vet school.
That's cool.
I know, which is really cool. And so this is actually much bigger than a cat brain. A cat brain would be about the size of a walnut. They're actually really very tiny. But this part is the cerebellum. So this very involuted little part of the brain, it sits right under the cortex and above the brain stem. And it is a very complex machine. It's a calculating machine. So basically the cerebellum is what refines movement, what establishes posture and balance. It has a lot of input from all of our sensory organs, from joints, from tendons, and basically it is a feed forward type of a system. So when we already think of like feedback types of systems, like a thermostat, people are very familiar with that. Thermostat basically wants your temperature to be at a certain level. It reads what the temperature is and then adjusts accordingly. A feed forward system makes predictions about like what's going to happen and then is correcting in real time. And so it's very complicated. The cerebellum is incredibly interesting. I actually, when I was in grad school, one of the things that I did was research with a kid who had cerebellar agenesis. And so we were doing studies. It was actually partly a cognition type of a research. It was really interesting because we were actually doing adaptation. So because the brain is very plastic. And so for him, we wanted to see whether he was able to adapt when things in the environment changed.
That's interesting.
He was such a delight. And I kind of, with cats that have cerebellar hypoplasia, the thing that you hear over and over again is what delights they are, how loving and he was exactly that. He was just the sweetest, happiest, most fabulous kid. And he was a little bit of a wobbly kitten. Anyway, so cerebellar hypoplasia specifically means that the cerebellum has not developed for whatever reason. And there are different degrees of that. And it's caused mostly by exposure to panleukopenia virus, either when the queen is pregnant, so in utero, or shortly after. So there's like about a 4-week period after a kitten is born that they could potentially contract panleukopenia, and then that will affect the development of the cerebellum. So panleukopenia tends to affect the most actively dividing cells, and that happens to be the period when the cerebellum is developing. And so it can range from very significantly severe. And, with young kittens, I think the survival rate with panleukopenia is like 50%.
Yeah.
So the mortality rate is very high. It's interesting because I feel like there are those kittens that people don't maybe not even know that they have it until they start moving.
Right.
So there's definitely a spectrum, which will be one of the things that we talk about. But yeah, so it's a underdevelopment of this portion of the brain that is important in regulating movement, regulating balance, fine motor coordination, posture, all of that.
Can you talk a little bit about how the cerebellum affects coordination and balance, like in terms of neurology?
Yeah, it is very complicated. But so basically there's, the brain is taking in information from the environment. And the cerebellum is not necessarily initiating movement. Basically, it's taking all of this input in, and it's making decisions about how to move different muscles and bones and all of that, while also figuring out where your trunk is in space. And it takes into consideration like velocity and strength. And so something as simple as grabbing, a mug, like something like this. When you're holding something like this, obviously this changes the load of your hand. And so your cerebellum is calculating what it thinks this is going to weigh and how much force you need to put in your muscles in order to hold this, how to grab it. When you're grabbing something, you actually are moving all of these muscles. So you're moving your shoulder, your elbow, your wrist. And so it coordinates all of these movements at the same time. And so when you don't have the cerebellum, you actually have to move this first, and then you might move that second, or you might, it's all out of order. So everything all discombobulated without the cerebellum. The cerebellum is basically just this very fine-tuned, it's almost like an equalizer. It's making sure that everything is in balance. And of course, it's incredibly complicated because you can imagine like what that requires to figure all of that
So without the cerebellum, or with an underdeveloped cerebellum, since there are degrees of this, then is the rest of the brain then taking over like some of this, and then that's what gives the cat the ability to move, but in such a wobbly, funky way?
The cerebellum itself is not responsible for initiating movement. So that's all in the cortex. So that's and the brainstem, all of that is actually involved with the movement, but it's the cerebellum itself that is actually making the calculations for how to make things smooth.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So if you don't have the cerebellum, you can still move, you can still do all of those things, but it's just that coordinator is not there anymore. So
Got it.
So it's a messy.
Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense. So, and there's no like genetic or breed predisposition to this, right?
No.
It's just...
And actually, it's very uncommon now because there is a vaccine. And so most cats are...
What? This is the first I'm hearing about this.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's part of the FVRCP vaccine.
Yeah. Okay, I'm stupid. I thought you were saying there's a vaccine for CH, not the Panleuk vaccine.
Well, the Panleuk vaccine exactly is a vaccine against CH.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So it's only queens that are not vaccinated.
Right.
And it is a fecal oral route, which means that there has to be some, it gets shed through the feces. It actually gets shed through
everything.
Everything. Sweat.
It's so contagious.
Very, very, very contagious. Very resistant to cleaning.
Yeah.
Bleach. It's a really big deal. But the nice thing is that it's just not as common. I mean, I don't even know if it was ever really that common because the vaccine has been around. It's most common in rescue situations where you have these.
Yeah, we see it a lot in rescues. And it's ripped through this town and our neighboring town through like feral populations. I never saw it in New York, Panleuk, when I was doing rescue. Never saw a case. I have seen so many cases here now.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So many.
Yeah, so that means that there's a lot of stray cats that are just not vaccinated.
Yeah.
Because a vaccinated mother will pass antibodies to their kittens, And then there's that maternally derived antibody that will have some protection until kittens can start to get vaccinated at 4 to 6 weeks or, yeah. I mean, generally they get vaccinated at 8 weeks if their mother has been vaccinated. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, I'm so dumb. I told you that. There was a vaccination for cerebellar hypoplasia, and I was like, what are you talking about?
There is. Yeah.
It's so stupid.
I love it.
Duh, it's the panleuk vaccine. What a moron. I'm doing great. I should definitely have a podcast where I tell people things. I'm just... Okay. I know. Oh my God, there's a rabies vaccine? What?
I'm so surprised. I know. Like, what? You didn't know this? Oh my gosh.
Okay. I think I've had too much coffee now. Okay, so what are the first signs that people might notice in a kitten with CH?
Generally, I think, and you could probably speak to this with
Sure.
egg, it's usually, you may not notice anything until they start moving, until they start to become mobile.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think the really sick kittens are probably not going to make it. But then the kittens that do survive, once they start moving around, you may notice the reason that it's called wobbly cat syndrome. You just notice that they're wobbling around, having a harder time walking. They may have a harder time feeding, so sometimes they're a little bit smaller than the other kittens just because they can't make it as easily to the teat.
Well, I noticed actually one of the first things about Egg was that she had a really hard time latching. And then eventually she figured it out. So I don't know if that was part of CH or just who knows what.
It can be. Yeah. So swallowing, mouth control, all of that can go along to some degree. Yeah.
She had a difficult time, but eventually figured it out. But the first few days, I was like, "What's going on with this kitten?" And I had to like really keep sticking her on her mom and trying to like facilitate that process. And then again, like you said, once they got to the stage where all of them were attempting to walk, you know, all kittens are wobbly when they first start walking, right? And they do this like shaking thing when they're first starting to walk. But I was looking at her and I was like, something's a little weird.
Tipping too, right?
So
tipping.
She was rotating, right? So she would try to move forward and be really shaky, but then she would do like a full rotation.
Yeah.
And I was just like, ooh, something's really weird with this kitten. But I can get easily so paranoid with kittens. So I tried to just be like, let's just calm down and
maybe she's just uncoordinated.
Yeah, like maybe she's just like, who knows, whatever, you know. I really tried to cool it with that, but I think then you started getting panicky texts with videos from me pretty soon.
Right. Yeah.
After that, being like, Gina, what's going on with this kid?
Normal.
Yeah. And then once her siblings were like really up and walking very normally, and she was still continuing to attempt, she would walk and then just rotate and flop. Yeah. And she was unable to move forward without falling to the floor, so we quickly just like patted everything, but it was tough, and it was tough to watch. The next question I have for you is like, how early can you diagnose it?
You know, I don't have a specific answer for that because I think it really depends. There is no test other than doing imaging. So doing gene imaging, and it's not very likely that anybody's going to take their cat to go for a CT or their kitten for a CT or an MRI.
Right.
And so I think it really is just over time you start to realize that things are different. I think one of the things that you and I both didn't know was that only one cat of a litter could be affected. Because we were kind of thinking, oh, this can't, because we both said, is it CH?
Yeah.
And then we had to check and see, and so not all kittens have to be affected, but also. Like you said, when kittens do start moving, they do have that wobbliness, and they do have some degree of that intention tremor as well, where they're kind of bobbing along. But then they start to lose that over time, and they become much more smooth. And the CH kitty doesn't lose that.
Right.
And then one of the other things that with Egg was that wide-based stance. So
the triangle.
The triangle, yeah, exactly. That kind of very wide gait. And so that's when you start to realize, I mean, I think it's one of these things where it's a matter of time and comparison to the other kitties and just realizing, okay, things are not really normalizing. Yeah, there's just a matter of observation.
Is there any way that you differentiate CH from like any other neurological or like other disease, like how Steve had vestibular disease? Like, how would you differentiate those things? Like, I know she didn't have nystagmus.
They actually can have nystagmus.
Really?
They can have there's a whole range of potential symptoms. And there's also other causes of, neurological signs in kittens. Mm-hmm. And so it could be like toxoplasmosis can be a cause. It can be trauma to the mother. It can be hypoxia. So if the mother, for whatever reason, was not getting enough oxygen at some point. So there are a variety of different things that could potentially cause neurological signs in kittens. But I think, there are certain things that the wide-based gait, the cerebellar hypoplasia is very, there are very specific signs to that. And it's mostly due to panleukopenia. And so, one of the things that you will see is that it tends to be pretty static. So it's not something that gets worse over time. Yeah. And so kittens that have like degenerative diseases, that they're not getting better and they're getting worse. Mm-hmm. And so they can actually have cellular damage. There's something called a lysosomal storage disease type of a syndrome that they can have, and those cats don't survive. So basically, kind of depending on how significant, how severe their signs are, and we can talk about the spectrum of presentation. Yeah. But so you can have anything from kitty cats that really can't move. So the most severe cerebellar hyperplastic cats, they can't feed themselves, they can't move, they can't stand up. And so if you're not quick to intervene and to feed them and to nurse them and clean them, then they will die. And so, you can have those kitties that really never get to that point where they can stand. And that can be true for their lifetime, where they just, for whatever reason, so much of their cerebellum is affected that they're never going to be able to stand up. They're never going to make it to the food bowl. They're never going to make it to the litter box. Those are the most severe cases. They can have head tilts. They can have nystagmus. So if people don't know what nystagmus is, it's when the eyes track back and forth.
Or up and down, right?
Or up and down. Yeah. Up and down is pretty
That's
unusual.
pretty bad. Yeah.
That's a bigger deal. Yeah. So it's usually side to side. That can also happen with inner ear stuff though, so that can be vestibular. But they can have, in some cases, even with panleuk, if it affects enough of the brain, they can have seizures, which is not that common, but it can be a component. So it kind of depends. So you have those most severe cases with the kitty cats that can't move. You have the kind of moderate cases where the kitties can move, but they always fall. Yeah. And so they basically are never really standing. They're just kind of flopping to wherever they need to go. Yeah. And so even as, young adults, you really have to have structures for them in order to get them to places. Right. Or like carpeting, things that they can grab onto because they'll just keep flopping. Yeah, exactly. So those kitty cats that never really are able to stand. And then you have the really mild ones that they can stand and they can get around, but they have those legs that kind of flail out. Yeah. And every time they get close to the food, then they do that whole intention.
Chicken. Thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I call it the chicken peck. That's how Egg eats. It's just like,
peck,
yeah.
Trying to get there. Trying to calibrate. Not quite. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cute.
Yeah, it is. It actually is cute. But the good news is that, they're not painful. They're not unhappy. It's not, they're not self-conscious. They're not, they don't regret that they weren't. It's funny. I was talking to my husband about this and he was like, regret is a human disease. And
it is.
Yeah, it's a human disease. And so they tend to be really happy cats. And even, I think, the most severely affected, if you have a really good, dedicated guardian, then those cats actually can do really well. And I've seen, some of these people who really put in the time, really put in the effort for those kitties. So that's really nice.
No, I agree. And I'll say with Egg, Egg's the only CH cat I've ever, had. Yeah. And it's been amazing watching her. It seemed very severe when she was young, you know, 'cause she couldn't move without flopping she couldn't move. She couldn't get herself anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about all the stuff that we built for her and did for her for PT as we get into this more, but she has never seemed to be bothered by it at all. She's immediately took over the house and took charge of all her uncles and is just like absolutely full of herself and does whatever she wants and doesn't care that she's different. And when her siblings were still around, they all played. Her mom didn't care. It's true what your husband said. It's all us. Yeah. Putting things on them, and she's just like, whatever, I do what I want. She's found her ways to be able to do almost everything that everybody else in the house does. Yeah. And it really is amazing to see. She's an amazing little person who's just like, I do whatever. Like,
yeah, it is. Yeah. It's really, they're really, people who have them love them. People who take care of these little kitties, they always, just across the board, talk about how happy they are. Yeah. So yeah, it is. It's really nice.
Yeah, she could really have a career as a motivational speaker. I feel like she's just like she's just gonna do whatever she wants. So, do the symptoms change as kittens grow up? I know we talked about that a little bit, that they don't get worse, but at least in my experience from her, you know, I've known her since the day she was born. Wow. She was so bad when she was little, and now she definitely flops still when she walks. You know, she can't walk more than a couple feet without falling over, but she's so much better. Yeah. And she's only 6 months old, that I hope that as she continues to develop and train her brain, she will continue to improve. At least into young adulthood. I don't know what your thought is.
Yeah, so some of them, and part of it is muscle strength. Right. And so building up, you know, some degree of being able to hold themselves up. And so we'll talk about physical therapy, because I think it's something that you've been doing and is it's very interesting. But if a kitten is never able to stand, then they can't necessarily build that musculature to be able to, you know, to do those things. So it would require some assistance. Yes. They can improve as time goes on with muscle strength. And the brain actually is really very plastic. So even though the cerebellum does, you know, all this fine tuning and all of this motor coordination, they can definitely improve. And I was saying the brain is so plastic that it can take over some of. You're never going to completely. No. You're not going to have a normal cat, but you can definitely see some improvement. The good thing is that it doesn't get worse over time. Right. And so with help, you really can assist them in acquiring some coordination.
So to get into that, like how important do you think physical therapy or occupational kind of therapy or play is for helping them, especially if you are fostering or adopting a CH kitten? Yeah. How important do you think that is to help them learn balance and mobility and strength, like you said?
I think it you know, certainly depends on how severe their symptoms are. And so the more severe, obviously, the more help that they need. For the mildly affected cats, they probably don't need as much. Yeah. You know, they get along fine, because there's a certain, you know, point where you're really not going to get much better. Yeah. And you know, they'll have some of the mild cases. Mostly you see just the resting tremor. And so you're not going to get rid of a resting tremor. That's what's going to be there. But so for the more severe cases, being able to even do like passive range of motion to get their muscles, to keep their limbs limber and their joints moving, that also helps with building muscle mass. And so range of motion, assistance in balancing, so using either troughs or whatever to get them to stand up so that they can put weight on their legs and work their, you know, all of the muscles in all of their legs. And that also helps to stabilize their trunk. So all of that is, I think, really important if you can do it, you know, but it does require the time. It requires some dedication to do it. So, but it does. It's very worth it.
Yeah. I agree. So it's like, okay, let's tackle this, because at that point she couldn't stand on her own. You know, she had a hard time eating. Like it was all of that stuff. So I had to feed her off of my finger and like put the food in her mouth. And oh, here she comes. Hi, A. Oh.
Oh,
Here's Egg.
precious.
Woo.
Look at how beautiful.
She's very beautiful. She also looks like a ghost. I don't know why we're so pale over here. And she has the cute little circle on her tummy. What was I saying? Right. So she couldn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't eat well. She couldn't stand without falling over. So we tried to get lots of food in her so that she was able to build the muscle strength that she would need. She's a little rounder than she maybe should be, but I want to really keep her being able to be super strong because now she's very, very strong in her back legs so that she can push off and like jump places and get places that she wants to. And then I built her a ton of mobility aids that anyone can build cheaply. I got those like under the bed blockers that you can buy. There's like plastic L's that come with sticky things, and taped those down and put pool noodles on the top for just padding. And then those were her little hallways to either like stand up, just practice standing in. So I would measure her every week and then expand them as needed. So she could stand in them and they would hold her and she could practice standing and then eventually practice walking and kind of like bonk from side to side but not fall. And so that would train her legs also to get stronger and stronger, right? So she used those for a really long time until eventually she was able to just walk on her own, which was amazing. And now she does, and she still flops, but she walks all over the place and it's great. And now she jumps and she's doing awesome. And then for her litter box, we did the same thing because she had a really hard time standing and she couldn't stand in a traditional litter box and would just fall over and then was getting baths all the time because she was constantly covered in stuff. So I made her own litter box that had a deep cutout all the way to the floor in the front. And then again, the same things, and I'll try to put pictures in here if I can, the same floor blockers with the same foam padding on the top so that she could just walk straight in. There was a little pile of litter in between the two floor blockers, and then she could just stand there, go to the bathroom, and then exit out the other side. So there were two holes cut in, so it was just like a little trough that you go in and go to the bathroom and then walk all the way out. And that worked really well, and her siblings didn't use it either, so everybody knew that like, oh, this is just for Egg. And then that way she was able to figure out going to the bathroom, find a posture that worked for her, and now she uses that same posture but in just a regular litter box. And she even goes in the litter robots and stuff and just like flings herself out of them like a crazy person. Because, you know, they're high up, so I didn't think she'd ever use them. She does, and then she just like, she's like a frog because she's so strong in her back legs that she just like boings out and like
flops around.
And I also found
Is she big? Does she like the litter? Is she a
Oh yeah, she loves digging.
Throws it all over the place.
It's great. We love that. It's super fun. I just am sweeping constantly. And for the eating, because that was really hard for her at first. She's better now. She's less messy. The first like 4 or 5 months of her life, it was just like Once she graduated from hand feeding, because I do think she had some issues with swallowing and like her jaw. Like there were weird sounds and stuff happening. Once she kind of coordinated that, finding a bowl that was the right height and the right pitch for her was a challenge. And I'll find a photo and put it in here. And then I'll also put links to all of this stuff in the show notes for this. I found a bowl that was really great. It's 2 bowls that come on like a little stand, and you can change the height of them. You just take like pegs on or off. So as she grew, I could add pegs, and they come on like the perfect tilt. So, and then you just take the bowl part off and wash it and put it back on. So as she grew, I could just add height, which was so helpful. Cool. And then also the other thing that we did and that we still have all over the place is padding. For these guys, especially when they're kittens and they're so floppy. Basically, we approached the house as if we had an infant. And just child-proof the crap out of everything. I bought a giant box of pool noodles, and they're like everywhere because they're really good. They're about the right height for a kitten to just like be a buffer on a wall. So all the walls are just covered in pool noodles. All the chair legs, I would just cut like a side of the pool noodle and stick it on the chair. So the chair legs are all covered in pool noodles. And I just had a new trainer come by the other day, and she was like, "What's up with all the pool noodles?" And like, I'm so used to it at this point. And I was like,
"It's a whole look."
Yeah, it's the latest in interior decorating. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you haven't heard about pool noodles? Like, so embarrassing for you. Yeah, so all the furniture is covered in pool noodles because now she's learned that if you run, you're more stable, right?
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
she sprints because then she can actually get places because of the velocity, right? So she'll sprint and then be unable to really stop herself appropriately, and will just bash into things. Foam tiles that you can buy for kids that like you see, yeah, and so those are covering like the whole house essentially. And
the other thing about those too, so for the cats that aren't able to walk, they will often just drag themselves. So these cats are great at climbing.
Yes,
So
yes.
because you don't want smooth floor.
No.
So if you love hardwood or you love
that's our whole house,
right?
Is hardwood and tile. So that's why
not very helpful for those poor little kitties. And so having something that they can grab onto to move around is really, really important. And it's true for the pool noodles too. They can just get their little nails in there and move along.
Yeah, so she's the one cat who, like you said, we don't cut her nails because she needs them to be able to climb up our couch or like climb up all the stuff that she likes to climb up. And like you said, to also get purchase into when she stands, because she does stand and she's doing this, but she's digging her nails into the foam tiles or into the areas where we have rugs, all of those things. But there are foam tiles now like all over.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's just...
I mean, I suppose you could do carpeting too. Carpet would be...
Yeah, but the problem with carpet when you have 14 cats and one of them who's having some urination problems is you don't want carpet.
You're ripping that up as soon as you have put it down.
Yeah, so the tiles are easier because somebody barfs, you could just take that one and throw it away and put another one down.
You can also clean them, if they're not.
Sure.
They're not too ripped up, then they're not too coarse,
Yeah, so, but all this stuff for climbing, making sure that they're safe as they're learning so that when they flop, they're going to be safe. As they play, they're going to be safe. So even cover your low tables should be covered in foam. Like everything should be covered the same way that you would baby-proof.
Where cats like to, if they get up to a place, make sure that they have soft
landing spots.
Landing spots important,
Yeah, she recently started to come into our bed, which is great. We love. But then we realized the way she gets down from places is not to like slowly get down the way a cat normally would. Is she just throws herself.
Launches.
Launches herself off with no regard as to where she's going or how it's going to impact her head. So she just throws herself off and then just runs off, and we're just like, this poor girl's head, like we can't. So then we had to like put like layers of the tiles again in the bedroom, like in the kind of the impact zone where she throws herself off.
Yeah. Well, I've heard too, though, that people who do have these little kitty cats that toss themselves around so much, they're pretty resilient.
Oh, she 100% is. It's us that we're always like, oh.
It's not exactly.
Yeah.
So often are, I think it's alarming, but they somehow manage.
Yeah, she's fine. She doesn't care at all. It's 100% us. And the neurologist said that to us too, because and she was very young when we took her. She wasn't anywhere as good as she is now. But Allie was like, what should we do? She's always hitting her head. And the neurologist was like, they're fine. He was like, said exactly what you did. He was like, this is normal for them. They're very resilient. They're not going to hurt themselves. And,
yeah.
But it is, sometimes it's a hard watch. And so I think for us as humans, we feel better.
Right. Yeah.
If she's throwing herself off the bed with reckless abandon and we hear less of a thunk. Right?
Yeah.
It's muted. That's for us because she doesn't care or she wouldn't do it.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, do you have any specific enrichment ideas or exercises that would help to strengthen their muscles or coordination, especially when they're little?
So, I have to say I came into this knowing about the anatomy,
Right.
the disease. And so I did have to do a little bit of research into some of the physical therapy stuff. And so I'm not an expert by any
Yeah.
means, but it seems like, a lot of the really, what seems to me very helpful stuff is a lot of the balance training. So
Yeah.
having the troughs that you can have the kitty cats standing in so that they can start to develop muscle strength in their core, their legs. And so
Yeah.
helping them with that, encouraging them. They love to play. So just because they're, having coordination issues, tempting them with your string toys and feeding them their churu, whatever you need to do to get them moving through makes a big difference. I saw one video which was kind of interesting, that apparently you can also help them by holding the base of their tail. Have you seen this?
No.
So that you can stabilize a kitty for whatever reason. So not the tip of their tail, but
Right.
towards the base, and you're not pulling, you're basically
Yeah, you're just holding it.
And apparently it kind of stimulates the whole spine and can coordinate them so that whereas they're usually just flopping over, you can steady them. And that's also a good way to help them build some. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. Some cats are never going to get to that point, and so there are some
Right.
kids that you're going to end up having to do like a wheelchair for.
Yeah.
And some cats you actually have to provide, that kind of support and that kind of structure to move around. But yeah, again, I'm not an expert
Right.
in that specifically, but there's a lot of really fun YouTube videos.
That's really interesting about the tail thing. Yeah, before, we had done all this physical therapy with Egg, because she was so bad in the beginning, one of our friends works in aid for people who are developmentally disabled. And so she has a lot of expertise in this field. And she has a 3D printer at work. So she's like, ooh, we'll make an assistive device for Egg, and she started like measuring her. It was unfortunate because this was when Egg was growing like so fast all the time, right? So she'd print something and then she would have already grown out of it.
Right.
But we were starting to develop some type of, a cart for her. Where her body would sit and it would hold her steady. So it would be like a curved, like a U shape that she would sit in, and then we'd put wheels on the side that would come out, and then she could just scoot herself around. But every time we tried to fit her in it, she's so true to her mindset now. She was like, I don't need your help. Get this off me. She hated it. And she was just like, I'm going to figure this out. Like, get this. She just wanted no part of it.
Not her thing.
And it absolutely makes sense knowing her as well as I know now that she was like, no. But that is something that you can do. One thing that I forgot to say for Egg when she was really little, before she was up and able to move around, that her siblings were playing and she wanted to play. I got her one of those baby play mats that people get for the infants that is like a padded mat, and then it has those play structures, right, that has like a mobile and other toys. So they're things, right, the dangly things, so that number one, they're safe because they're made for human babies, so it's going to be safe for kittens. And she loved it. All the kittens loved it, but she really loved it because she could be on her back. She could stretch up, so she's working on her core muscles. She had things to play with, so she didn't feel left out. And then as she got stronger and stronger, she could start pulling herself up the like little foamy structure arches, and it was so great. They all loved it so much. So, and that's
just for kittens.
Exactly. I was just gonna say, this is something that that all of them were like, this is so fun. And honestly, when I first got it and I was putting it together in just the regular part of our house, not in the kitten room, our cats were all like, what is this? We want this. And I had to kick them off of it because like Jean and Butters were like, thanks, this is our toy now. And like, you guys get off. So I feel like all cats kind of want a baby play mat.
Once you brought that up, that definitely sounds like a cat amusement park for sure.
Yeah, they loved it. Do you have any thoughts about how people can support CH kittens socially? Like, I mean, they're essentially the same. Like, it's not really any different.
Yeah. I think, again, I think it depends on the severity, because for some kitties, if they're so impacted and they're not moving, they're not socializing.
Right.
And so, I think that can be hard, because there is that critical period where between, what is it, like 6 and 12 weeks, where they really need to socialize to learn things.
Yes.
So sometimes it can be really hard. And they don't always have siblings. Sometimes they're on their
Right.
own. So I think it's up to you to help socialize them, make sure you're interacting with them and offering them toys and things like that. But
Yeah.
um,
And
yeah.
I would say do all the same things that you would normally do to
Yeah.
socialize
Yeah,
a
exactly.
regular
Don't be
kitten.
overprotective. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I will say with
That's
Egg,
great.
she's one of our boldest cats, and
Mm-hmm.
she's the one who like all of our cats are vacuum trained to different degrees because we got them
Uh-huh.
all at different ages. But Egg
Mhm.
does not give a shit
Oh,
about the
good.
vacuum.
That's awesome.
I
Yeah.
could vacuum her, and she would be like,
Fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
like she will come and chase after me when I'm vacuuming with like the carpet
That's
vacuum, which is
so
really
hilarious.
loud.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I vacuum trained her and her siblings when they were
Uh-huh.
little, all at the same time, and so now
Yeah.
she's just like. So
Yeah.
you really can train them and
Mm-hmm.
socialize, like you should treat them
Yeah.
in the same way that you would any other kitten. Like
Yeah.
have them
Yeah.
meet lots of people, have them meet
Absolutely.
other animals, have them
Different
around
sense
different
rates,
sounds,
different
and like
sounds.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're not any more socially fragile than
Right.
any other cat.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
And I just say that because at the beginning I was like, oh no, like I've never dealt with it, like I don't know what
You
to
gotta be
do.
careful. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then eventually I was like, you know what? I can't
Mhm.
handle her this way. Like I have to handle her as though she's any other cat, and all of this is what I'm bringing to the table, and she
Yeah.
needs to be raised like this is no big deal. Like this
Right.
is no
Right.
problem. And I'm really glad that I got to that point because if
Mhm.
I hadn't, I don't know if she would be this tough,
Right. Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and independent and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
strong. So anyway,
I mean, I think especially in your house where she really needs to get along with the other kitties,
yes,
it's really important. So if you hadn't, then you may end up having to have her separate.
right.
She wasn't used to socializing, so yeah.
It's true, but yeah, no, she's really taken over. She is like
Aww.
really the boss of the boy
Yeah.
gang, and
Uh-huh.
they're so in love with her. They're so protective of her and loving, and like, but then she'll just like attack their heads. It's just they just. I think that they think that she's their pet. Or like
Uh-huh.
she's their baby, and they
Uh-huh.
just are obsessed with her.
Uh-huh.
It's so
Yeah.
cute. So
Yeah.
she's got this gang of 7 uncles who all
Uh-huh.
adore her.
Uh-huh. That's lovely.
It is the cutest thing. So what would you say to somebody who's hesitant and thinking about adopting or fostering a CH cat?
Want to make sure that they were devoted enough that they would be able to make sure that the environment was appropriate for their cat.
Yeah.
That if they're intent on having hardwood floors and and tiling and all of that, and they don't want to alter their furniture, then maybe it's not
Right.
the right fit. So there is some things that you have to be able to
Live with.
live with. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And and for some of these cats, they are messy. So like the food can be all over the place, the litter can be all over the place. And so just being aware of that and just knowing that there are certain accommodations that you have to make, but that if you are willing to make those accommodations, it can be an incredibly lovely relationship. People really love their CH kitties. So to me, I mean, you just have to be a good cat guardian.
I
I
agree.
don't want and that's true for any person.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody that wants a cat just because they're going to look pretty on the couch, but you do have to do a little extra for these just to make sure that their life is, and I think it's for their quality of life,
Yeah.
to make sure that they can get around and that they can get around safely, and that you're not going to be bummed out when there's litter where you don't want it to be.
Yeah.
You just have to deal with that.
And the litter thing is, depending on the type of box that you have, it's really not that difficult to solve. That you
Yeah.
can get those litter mats, or you could get like mats that have a lip, right? Like big plastic mats with a lip that then you put
Or
the
you can
box
even build
in.
something around. On top
Exactly.
of- Exactly. So yeah.
There's a lot of containment strategies that you can do
Right.
if you're willing,
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
or you just patrol like I do with a broom and a dustpan.
Yeah.
Like you just do that a couple times a day in your litter area, and then you're okay.
I think one of the questions that you had sent was support groups.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. which I think you would be able to answer that more than me. But
Yes.
I think there's always a lot of Facebook groups. I do know
I was
that.
just going to say there is a really, really good, there's a few, but there's one that's really good, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes as well on Facebook, of people living with cats with cerebellar hypoplasia. And it's a really great resource where you can find, people post, oh, I've done this to help my cat, and I've done this. And if you're brand new to it, it's, as I was, it's a great place to just go in and just peruse. You can search topics, obviously, if you're trying to figure out what's a good litter box or what's a good this or that. It's just a nice community to have where you can and also share progress and find vets near you if you need to who are helpful with these cats. So I would definitely explore Facebook groups. I'm sure there's probably some Reddit groups.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's probably some Reddit groups and probably some Discord groups as well that are similar that I will explore and put in the show notes as well to see what I can find. Because you had said that of the cats that you've seen in your practice, that people really talk about their personalities and that there's these amazing cats. And what I'm curious about is, do you think that there's a link between their unusual brain structure and them having these amazing personality types? Or do you think, or do you think it's because owners are forced in a way to spend more time with CH cats that they then become, I don't want to say more attached, but they notice more because CH cats require a little bit more work. And so then they're attaching more meaning to their cats and their cat's personality.
I mean, it certainly could be that. My N of one of the human that, had, I mean, he was such a joy. He was so happy and so loved. I can't even overstate what a wonderful kid he was. And so part of me feels like that must be the condition.
Right.
There must be, but I have no idea. I mean, I don't think we really know, what if the cerebellum really plays a part in personality or, any of that. But I have yet to hear anybody tell me they have a mean CH cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Maybe we can make a study up and figure it out.
Oh, there you go.
Honestly, I think it's so interesting. Whichever way it would go, I think would be so interesting. Is it a mechanism of the brain, or is it a mechanism of the socialization and the bonding that goes on between owner and cat?
Exactly.
Either way would be such an interesting finding.
Yeah.
I would be so interested in figuring this out. So do you have a message that you would want our listeners to take away about, living with or caring with a cat with cerebellar hypoplasia?
I would say is that the people who do take on these kitties, these special need kitties, find it very rewarding. And it's not unusual. I think from my experiences, once you have one of these kitties and you've had this relationship and you realize how rewarding it can be, they often will go on to adopt more special needs kitties. So it's nice. So yeah. Don't not do it.
I agree. I think our lives have really been changed and really honestly blessed by Egg, as crazy as she is. It has been so rewarding going from her being so challenged at first and seeing her be so strong and so motivated and I don't know how much of what I did helped, and then versus how much of it is just her being such a strong, bullheaded, motivated young lady.
Inspirational, right?
It is very inspirational that she just...
Why am I complaining about my dumb things when look at how they manage and are happy and doing fine?
100%. That she just has so much get up and go, and she's just like, I'm going to figure out how to do this thing I want to do, and I don't want your help. And if you help me, I'm going to get mad and go do it on my own after you help me, because shut up, she just wants to do it all on her own, and it really is so cool to see.
Yeah.
And I would 100%, if we didn't already have 14 cats, which is already too many cats, and that's not even counting the fosters that are in the baby room right now, I would absolutely be open to taking on more special needs cats, 100%. So I would just put that out there for everyone listening to not shy away if you have the time and you have the resources. Again, I don't want to make it sound like it's like, oh, you can just adopt one and then you don't have to do anything. That's not the case, is that you do need to put some work in, but it's 100% what you put in, you will get back 1,000-fold.
Yeah.
So that's the end of my spiel. And I hope everyone has learned something. I've learned many things today, and so I, as always, am so grateful for you, Dr. Rendon.
Oh, be here.
You are always the best, and I always love having you on the podcast. And thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review wherever you listen. It super helps. For more information and to support our podcast, check out our website at hissandtellpodcast.com. You can also find us on Instagram at hissandtellpodcast. Music provided by Cat Beats.